Hello students, today I am going to continue with the same chapter that we began in our last class, that is the sixth chapter of your book Beehive, that is My Childhood, which is an autobiography of a great statesman and scientist named APJ Abdul Kalam. So in this story, up till now, up till paragraph 5, we had read about Abdul Kalam's childhood. So, in short, we are going to recollect, or I am going to tell you what we had read up till paragraph 5. So, in the chapter we had read, up till now, we had read that Abdul Kalam was born in the middle class Muslim family in 1931 in the island town of Rameshwaram, that is Tamil Nadu. It is in Tamil Nadu, and in his childhood, he was greatly influenced by his parents, his teachers, and his friends. And Abdul's father, Jainuddin, was not much educated, but he was a very generous and kind person. He was not rich, but provided a secure childhood to Abdul and his brothers and sisters. Abdul's mother name was Ashiamma, and Abdul inherited the qualities of honesty and self-discipline from his father and faith in goodness and deep kindness from his mother. And Abdul earned his first wages by working as a helper to his cousin Samsuddin, who distributed newspapers in Rameshwaram. And when the Second World War broke out in 1939, Abdul was only 8 years old, and there was a great demand of tamarind seeds at that time. And Abdul used to collect these seeds and sell them in the market, which provided him with the pocket money. Then we had read that in Abdul's childhood, he had three close friends named Ramanath Shastri, Arvindam, and Siv Prakashan, and all these boys were from Orthodox Hindu Brahmin family, and one of the boys was the son of the priest of the Rameshwaram temple, who used to sit next to him in the class. And we had read that Abdul Kalam, though belonged to a Muslim family, had grown up listening to the mythological stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata, which were told to him by his mother and grandmother, besides the tale of prophet. And his family celebrated the Hindu festival also with great pomp and show, and they participated in the Hindu festival and equally celebrated it along with the Muslim festivals. So this is what we had read up till now. Now we are going to begin with the sixth paragraph, which says, one day I was in the fifth standard at the Rameshwaram Elementary School. A new teacher came to our class. I used to wear a cap which marked me as a Muslim, and I always sat in the front row next to Ramanath Shastri, who wore a sacred thread. Sacred thread is what? It is the thread which the Brahmins wear. So, in this paragraph, APJ Abdul Kalam is saying that as he belonged to a Muslim family, he used to wear a cap on his head which identified him as a Muslim. And his friend Ramanath Shastri, who was the son of the priest of the Rameshwaram temple, belonged to a Hindu Brahmin family and used to wear the sacred thread worn by the Brahmins. And when these children were in class 5, a new teacher came to the class, and APJ Abdul Kalam recalls an incident which happened then. Further, it says the new teacher could not stomach a Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy. In accordance with our social making, social ranking as the new teachers saw it. I was asked to go and sit on the back bench. I felt very sad, and so did Ramanand Shastri. He took he looked utterly downcast as I shifted to my seat in the last row. The image of him weeping when I shifted to the last row left a lasting impression on me. So, in these lines, the word or the phrase could not stomach means could not digest, and the words like downcast means sad or depressed. So, in these lines, the narrator APJ Abdul Kalam says that his new teacher could not tolerate that a Hindu priest's son was sitting next to a Muslim boy, because there was a discrimination on the basis of the caste of the children and people in olden days. And the teacher, he told our APJ to go and sit on the last bench as he belonged to a lower rank of the society, because Brahmins were the respected class of the society and the Muslims, they were considered very low. So both the children felt very bad. Both Ramanand Shastri and APJ Abdul Kalam felt very bad being parted with each other. And when APJ changed his seat and went back and sat on the last bench, Ramanand felt very bad, and APJ still remembers the image of his friend Ramanand crying bitterly, and it left a lifelong impression on Kalam of his friend's feeling for him. Then further, the next paragraph says, after school, we went home and told our respective parents about the incident. Lakshman Shastri summoned the teacher and in our presence told the teacher that he should not spread the poison of social inequality and communal intolerance in the minds of innocent children. He bluntly asked the teacher to either apologize or quit the school and the island. Not only did the teacher regret his behavior, but the strong sense of conviction Lakshman Shastri conveyed ultimately reformed this young teacher. So now first let's see to the meaning of all the hard words in this paragraph. The word summoned means called, or you can say that किसी को हुक्म देना, to पेश होना किसी के सामने, that is summoned means called. Bluntly means speaking in a direct and honest way when if this offends or upsets people. And apologize means to seek pardon, and quit means to leave. So, and the word conviction means a strong opinion or belief, and convey means to communicate. So in these lines, the narrator says that both children went home and told their parents about this incident, and Ramanand's father, Lakshman Shastri, called the new teacher and scolded him. He told him not to kill the children's friendship by putting the venomous discrimination of caste and religion into their innocent minds. Lakshman Shastri was very clear in himself. He told the teacher, either you are sorry for the wrong you have done, or else leave the school and Rameshwaram town also. The teacher asked sorry for the mistake he had done, and due to Lakshman Shastri's determination, his thoughts about religion and caste changed. The next paragraph says, on the whole, the small society of Rameshwaram was very rigid in terms of the segregation of different social groups. However, my science teacher, Siva Subramanya Iyer, though an orthodox Brahmin with a very conservative vibe, was something of a rebel. He did his best to break social barriers so that people from varying backgrounds could mingle easily. He used to spend hours with me and would say, Kalam, I want you to develop so that you are on par with the highly educated people of the big cities. So, in these lines, first see to the hard words. The word rigid means strict, Segregation means separation. Orthodox means one who follows the religion strictly. Conservative means traditional. Rebel means in opposition. Mingle means interact with each other. And the phrase on par means at the same level. So in these lines, the narrator says that the division of society was into 4 groups, that is, the whole society was divided into Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. And this discrimination was strictly followed in Rameshwaram. And Abdul Kalam's science teacher, Shiv Subramania Iyer, was a religious person. And orthodox Brahmin, but also a rebellious type of a person. He did not believe in distinction on the basis of the caste system, and he worked very hard to break these social barriers, and he wanted that people of different caste should interact with each other. And he encouraged Abdul Kalam to work hard so that he could be at the same level as the highly educated people who lived in big cities, because education only can strike off all the barriers between high and low. So these days you must have seen that if a person is well educated and holds a high post or high position in the society, then the caste is no bar in the society, in the religion. The caste or the religion is not a bar, and he is respected by the high class also and the low class people also. So the next paragraph says, one day he invited me to his home for a meal, and his wife was horrified at the idea of a Muslim boy being invited to dine in her ritually pure kitchen, and she refused to serve me in her kitchen. Shiv Subramania Iyer was not perturbed, nor did he get angry with his wife, but instead served me with his own hands and sat down beside me to eat his meal. His wife watched us from behind the kitchen door. I wondered whether she had observed any difference in the way I ate rice, drank water, or cleaned the floor after the meal. So first, see to the hard words. The word ritually pure means kept protected from all outside influences for the observance of religion, and perturbed means upset or disturbed. So in these lines, APJ Abdul Kalam says that Subramania Iyer's wife belonged to a traditional and orthodox Brahmin family, and she followed the religion very strictly and to keep the kitchen pure. No one from an inferior religion was allowed to enter the kitchen. When Subramania Iyer called APJ Abdul Kalam for dinner at his home, his wife feared that a boy from a Muslim family would make her kitchen impure, and she refused to serve him food in her kitchen. Shiv Subramania Iyer was neither upset nor angry at his wife, and he himself served food to APJ Abdul Kalam and sat down beside him to eat. And his wife stood beside the kitchen door and looked at APJ while he was having food. And APJ says that he doesn't think that she felt there was any difference in the way he was having his food, or the way he was drinking water, or in the way he cleaned the floor after the meal. And he wants to highlight that religion does not matter, as it does not alter the way in which a person eats food. Every human being is similar. The looks are similar, they have the same organs as the other is having, so there is no difference. So it is we human beings only who follow the discrimination, or who has created this discrimination on the basis of caste and religion. Further, the next line says that when I was leaving his house, Sir Subramania Iyer invited me to join him for dinner again the next weekend, and observing my hesitation, he told me not to get upset, saying, once you decide to change the system, such problems have to be confronted. When I visited his house the next week, Shiv Subramania Iyer's wife took me inside her kitchen and served me food with her own hands. So, in these lines, first see to the meaning of the hard words. Hesitation means doubt or delay. Confronted means faced or tackled. Then, so in these lines, the narrator says that when APJ was about to leave Shiv Subramania Iyer's house, he invited him for dinner once again the next weekend. And when Shiv Subramania Iyer saw that APJ Abdul Kalam was hesitant, he asked him not to be upset. And he added that if he had decided to change the system to go against the norms of the society, he had to be strong and brave and confront the situation or face the situation bravely. And he also said that, and further he says that when he visited Subramania Iyer's home for dinner the next week, then there was a drastic change in the attitude of Shiv Subramania Iyer's wife. And what was the change? That when he reached Subramania Iyer's house, his wife made him sit in the kitchen and served him food with her own hands. This is the change that happened in Shiv Subramania Iyer's wife, who was a staunch or very strict Brahmin and who wanted to keep his kitchen pure and did not allow the person from the lower class to enter her kitchen. So this was a drastic change in Shiv Subramania Iyer's wife. Then further, the next paragraph, that is the 10th paragraph, says that then the Second World War was over and India's freedom was imminent. Indians will build their own India, declared Gandhiji. The whole country was filled with an unprecedented optimism. So in these lines, the word imminent means about to happen, and unprecedented means never done or know before. Optimism means hope or cheer. So in these lines, the narrator says that when the Second World War got over in the year 1945, India was about to get freedom, which happened in the year 1947. Finally, when we got the freedom and the Britishers left our country. Then at that time, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, that is Gandhiji, known as the father of the nation, was a crucial part of India's freedom struggle. And he said that Indians would build their own India, and the entire country was filled with hope and happiness, and everyone was experiencing such a feeling which they had never felt before, and everyone was hoping that now they would get their freedom and they would be free to do whatever they like, and they will no more be dominated by the Britishers, the British officials. Then further, the next line says, I asked my father for permission to leave Rameshwaram and study at the district headquarters in Ramanathapuram. So in these lines, the narrator APJ Abdul Kalam says that as the World War was over in 1947, when as India was declared, or India got freedom in the year 1947, after that APJ Abdul Kalam asked his father's or seek his father's permission to go to Ramanathapuram for higher studies. He asked his father to allow him to go to Ramanathapuram, which was the district headquarters for higher studies. Then the next line of the first line of 11th paragraph says that he told me as if thinking aloud, Abdul, I know you have to go away to grow. Does the seagull not fly across the sun alone and without a nest. And then he quoted Khalil Gibran to my hesitant mother. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. It is a very big thing that was said by Abdul's father. So, in these lines, the narrator says that his father said that in reply said that he knew that APJ needed to go away so that he could move ahead in life. And you all know that seagull is a bird. So he just used the simile saying that does the seagull not fly across the sun alone and without the nest? Which means that he knew that the children could not be kept back to home, and they have their own will, they have their own wishes, and we should not stop them to fulfill their desires or their wish. So his father very well knew that APJ needed to go away so that he could move ahead in life, and he gave the example of seagull which flies away in the sky all alone and does not have a nest. And it means it does not have a home of its own as it keeps on flying from one place to another. And then he says that when APJ's mother came to know that he was about to leave home and wanted to go to Ramanathapuram for higher studies, she got very upset. And his father tried to calm her down and told her a few lines from a famous poem titled Your Children, written by Khalil Gibran. And he said that your children are not your children. They are a result of life's desire for itself, and they have their own thoughts. And he asked her to give them freedom to fulfill their thoughts and their wishes. So this was a very big thing that was said by APJ Abdul Kalam's father. So this is all in this chapter. I hope you all have understood this chapter. Now we'll see to the question and answers. The first question is, where was Abdul Kalam's house? So you all can write the answer very well. First of all, you will write the answers of this first part, that is, answer these questions in 1 or 2 sentences. This you will do by yourself, and then I will be sending you the notes of this chapter or the question and answers of this chapter. Thank you and good.